Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Giant Take Podcast. I'm Josh, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host Alex. He's back and better than ever to get to this huge and long week recap of New York Giants news since the regular season has come to a close. Obviously, looking towards Super Wildcard Weekend, which the Giants will not be in for what seems like eternity. But that'll be fun. We'll get to our picks a little bit later in this episode. First of all, though, Alex, how are you doing?
Doing good, Josh. Glad to be back. Interesting time for the Giants right now. Obviously, we're in the midst of this head coaching search. Big offseason for the Giants, both in free agency and the draft. I know it seems like we say that every year, but it's always true. So there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things that we're going to find out over the next very short period of time. So excited for that. A little bit nervous, of course, because it's always tough to trust Giants ownership to make the right decisions and Giants general manager Joe Schoen to make the right decisions. So cautiously, very cautiously optimistic, but I'm liking the direction right now, at least with this morning's news regarding the new Miami Dolphins general manager, that it seems like the Giants do have, hopefully, knock on wood, the inside road to Harbaugh, who I think is a franchise-changing coach and could really, turn this team around, hopefully, in my delusional Giants mind, at least.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes along the way here in the next week when John Harbaugh actually interviews with the New York Giants. We'll get into the order of operations as we normally do, going according to plan through the week, Monday through Friday. And yeah, like I mentioned, a lot of news here. So I'll run through Monday, which was when the Giants cleaned out their lockers and a lot of the players talked to the media along those lines. Cam Scadaboo, we'll start with him, says his recovery is on schedule. The goal is to be ready for the start of training camp. And continuing along the line with head coaches now, Kevin Stefanski was out of the Browns job by Monday. And then we'll get to he interviewed with the Giants later in the week. Giants general manager Joe Schoen obviously was retained. You got informed by ownership. The Giants went 4-13 this past season, or this, I guess, current season. It is still going 22-51-1 with a playoff appearance in 4 seasons overall in the time with Joe Schoen. And I'll read a little bit of what John Mara and Steve Tisch wrote up. I'm sure it's what their assistant wrote up, but anyway, the 2025 season has been deeply disappointing, and the results on the field have not lived up to the standard this organization and our fans expect. As previously stated, Joe Schoen will remain our general manager and continue to lead our football operations and the search for our next head coach. Continuity and stability in the front office is important to our progress. We believe in our young core of talent, which we can build around for future success. John Mara and Steve Tisch. Okay, moving on. Wide receiver Malik Neighbors on whether he'll be ready by week 1 next season after his ACL injury for week 1. He said, quote, "Not really sure. If my body doesn't feel right, then I'm not going to go out there." I mean, yeah, best answer you can really give on that. Mike Kafka said, quote, "I do plan on interviewing for the Giants head coach position." He went 2-5 as interim head coach, won his final 2 games, and worked obviously closely with Jackson Dart when he was the OC as well. He did already do his interview. He was, I think, the first person to actually do their interview. It was probably easier. I mean, he was in the house, so that makes sense. And then to close out Monday, Alex, the Giants' reserve future signings were as follows. Linebacker Swayze Bozeman, tight end Tanner Connor, outside linebacker Trace Ford, and then offensive lineman Reed Holsky, and cornerbacks Patrick McMorris and cornerback Miles Purchase. Tuesday.
All right, moving on to Tuesday now. Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph is expected to interview this week for the Raiders, Cardinals, Giants, Titans head coaching vacancies per Adam Schefter. So he's going to be a busy guy in the interview rounds. The Giants have also requested an interview with defensive coordinator of the Colts, Lou Anarumo, for their head coaching vacancy. He spent a year in New York as their DB coach, Staten Island native, obviously has that previous connection at the Dolphins with Joe Schoen.
And his son is a scout for the New York Giants.
Correct. So there's a lot of connections there. So a lot of things that kind of, tie him close to the organization. So would keep an eye out on his name. The big news, obviously, I referenced it a little bit earlier. John Harbaugh, fired by the Baltimore Ravens, was a defensive back coach at Western Michigan from 84 to 87, special teams coach at Cincinnati from 94 to 97. and then an assistant coach in the NFL, primarily on the Eagles and special teams and defense from 98 to 2007. And since 2008, he has been the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, obviously led the Ravens with Joe Flacco to that Super Bowl win against the 49ers in New Orleans in that 2012 season, excuse me. Multiple playoff appearances. I believe he's appeared in the playoffs 12 out of his 18 seasons. So a very, very successful coach. And apparently he is the Giants' number one option, which would make sense. And I think he is all Giants fans' number one option, I would have to assume, or at least most of them. But we'll have to see if he has interest the other way around, because it takes two to tango in that way. I'll go on Wednesday and I'll give you Thursday, Josh. The Giants also arranged head coaching interview with former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay Packers, Mike McCarthy. Former Falcons head coach Raheem Morris also confirmed to interview for the Giants, Cardinals, and Titans per Adam Schefter. And obviously, Mike Kafka, interim head coach, also completed his interview with the team on Thursday per Jeremy Fowler. So, Josh, that leaves us with a bunch of head coaching candidates. Can you kind of give us a quick overview here on, I guess, in the Thursday news?
Yeah, absolutely. I will in a few moments. We'll get a tease in here, get an ad break. And by the way, I'll double tease it, because if you want more, we're going to talk about the coaches obviously out of the break. We'll get Alex's opinions on everything because we haven't really heard his yet on the show. But if you want mine, along with more in-depth descriptions about these head coaches, go check out whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening. If you want to listen, the last episode right before this, I did an overview on all of these coaching candidates, or at least most of them, 99% of them. And then also on YouTube, it's the last video on there as well. All right, double tease. Here's the second part of that. We'll send it. And we'll come back. We'll talk about Thursday news and what Alex's thoughts are on these head coaching candidates, who he wants for the New York Giants, and our picks for Super Wildcard Weekend. Stay tuned.
Yeah, Art, for me, it's, early on I made mistakes. I'm fortunate to have great ownership here where you're allowed to stub your toe and try to course correct. And over the last couple of years, we've been able to add a franchise quarterback. You've been able to add a number one receiver in Malik Neighbors, who again, I'm looking forward to getting him back. And there are the defensive line, the pass rushers. There's pieces in place that also make this an attractive job. So looking at where we're going, where the build is, what the plan is moving forward, and seeing the vision through is why I think that's the case, Art.
All right, welcome back in. Let's get to Thursday now. Sorry, I kept you waiting a little bit longer than expected. So far, 9 coaches in the Giants coaching search have been interviewed. 4 of them have been interviewed. There are 9 coaching candidates. The ones that have been interviewed are as follows: Kevin Stefanski, Raheem Morris, Mike Kafka, and Vance Joseph via Zoom. Obviously, Vance Joseph has kind of a bigger idea in mind right now going into the playoffs. So that's why they did that via Zoom. Friday, Antonio Pierce. So today, Antonio Pierce will be interviewing, or maybe as we're recording this at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, has already interviewed for the New York Giants head coaching position. And then on the horizon for next week, as we know, John Harbaugh isn't conducting any interviews, probably taking a week off, figuring out what he wants to do, how he wants to approach these interviews. So that starts all for him and all of the teams he's going to have to talk to and will talk to next week, along with Mike McCarthy. He's doing the same thing. Darren Rizzi will be on Zoom as well. And then Lou Anarumo will also be next week. So, I said this in the last episode, but Giants fans kind of wait a little bit, because it's not going to happen overnight. It's not even going to happen tomorrow or over the weekend. This will be a decision that will be made, or a contract won't be signed until at least late next week. The Giants still have a bunch of people to talk to. They might even have second interviews if they want to. I would not be surprised if we see news, Kevin Stefanski's coming back to MetLife to do a second interview. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And same thing, even if they interviewed Harbaugh the first time, they might interview him a second time too. And same thing with McCarthy. So definitely keep that in mind. Alex, I will now give you the floor on just everything going on with the coaches, because we haven't heard from you yet this week about everything going on here.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. My opinion's kind of developed over the week. I'll say this. I think Harbaugh is the clear number one option. Super Bowl winning coach, very successful coach in all 18 seasons he's been around. And there's really not much to interview, right? His resume speaks for itself, and the success his teams have had speak for himself. And to be honest, he's the exact type of coach the Giants need, right? They need a game manager. They need kind of that CEO type of coach that kind of can focus on both sides of the ball, and really bring this team together and kind of create a new culture, a culture of winning, right? And that's what the Giants have been looking for years and years and years, my entire life. So I think he's the clear number one guy. And to be honest, I know you have to do the interview process, but it's like, if I were the Giants and, you could do it like Madden and you could just sign him or hire him right now, like that's what I would be doing. But on some of the other guys, I think he's my clear number one. I'll give my thoughts on some of the other people. I think Stefanski, I'm a little bit lower on him than some others. Yes, he did a decent job with the Browns, and I think his success with the Browns was not as successful as people make it out to be. Because yes, he turned the Browns around from 0-16 and, these terrible seasons that they had to having a few decent seasons before having a couple bad ones again. But I don't know if he's necessarily the culture change the Giants need. So I'm not super high on him. But he is probably the guy with the second most experience on this list in terms of or success as head coach. Raheem Morris, I think, is like, he's been around. He's gotten a couple chances now, and it just has not worked out, unfortunately. Be more than welcome.
Speaking of, sorry,
Yeah.
I know I'll let you go after. Speaking of, unfortunately, I really just, it pains me to say it, and I think we said this the Brian Dable cycle too. I don't know what the NFL needs to do to fix this Rooney Rule, but it's like it's so clear the candidates, at least for the Giants. I don't know what other vacancies are doing. The coaches that are coming in strictly to fulfill this Rooney Rule, and I hate to, and listen, all credit to Raheem Morris. Like it's nothing against him, but I really like it's like sticks out like a sore thumb, Alex. And I don't know, I'm not going to like get political on the show, like how to fix the Rooney Rule. That's not what we're here to do. We're here for a Giants podcast to talk about the head coaching search. But it's like literally when I'm seeing, the Giants will interview Raheem Morris, everyone's like, oh, check on a box, right? And that's exactly why Brian Flores sued the Giants, because that's literally what they were doing. They already made the decision to hire Brian Dable. Bill Belichick texts the wrong Brian and says, congratulations to Brian Flores. And he's like, what are you talking about? I have to interview tomorrow or whatever it was. So, I agree. I don't think that Raheem Morris has a chance to become the head coach of this team, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a different way this could be done. And that just like kind of bothers me, but it's like you're wasting these people's time.
I agree in some sense. I think the problem is, right, the Giants shot themselves in the foot because, to be honest now, right, Brian Flores is probably a top 3 candidate on the market right now, right? Yeah. And now he hates our guts, rightfully so, right? So it's very frustrating from that standpoint for Giants fans. And obviously Brian Flores is completely in the right in that situation. The Giants couldn't be more wrong. But it's very difficult because Raheem Morris obviously is a very qualified candidate. So I'm not sure necessarily if it is that, and he is getting like coaching, interviews at other teams as well. Now, of course, you could make the same argument that they're all doing the same thing, but I would agree. A coach who has not been historically, has had 2 runs of being a head coach now and has both been unsuccessful, the likelihood that they would, be interviewing him is, unlikely. So I do understand what you're saying.
I don't have a solution. Like, I guess that's the issue with my argument is like, oh, this Rooney Rule they need to fix it. How? I don't know. I get like the origin of it, like the idea to do it is it's smart. Like I completely understand. You want to diversify the league and do that. I completely get that, and I agree. I guess I just don't know how to do it without it sounding like rude, So
I mean, I get it, and I think the interesting part about it is, right, when the Giant or every organization, if you look pre-Rooney Rule, there was no minority candidates whatsoever being interviewed at all, right? And now we have some fantastic coaches who probably would not have gotten the opportunity, just right off the top of my mind, D'Amico Ryans obviously taking the Texans to the playoffs. And, 30 years ago, maybe he would not have been someone that would have
That's
been,
true.
chosen
Mike
or given
Tomlin's
an
one of the
opportunity.
best head
Mike
coaches of all
Tomlin,
time.
obviously one of the best of all time. So I think it's difficult. It's a difficult conversation, but it's not ideal. And I think the teams that take advantage of it, like the Giants do, is very bad. So the teams that do it respectfully and do it the right way and go through their process the right way is better. But now that we have evidence that the Giants don't do it the right way, it's very hard to look at it and say, okay, they're doing it the right way, right? Because we know what they did 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So from that standpoint, yeah, you see Raheem Morris on the list and you go, oh God, not again. They're not going to, screw him over too, right?
Right.
So I think that's kind of the conversation more. If you're talking about another franchise that possibly had slightly more integrity than we do, then I'm not going to say we because I'm not involved in making the decisions. But
which is good.
Then our team,
not a good idea.
Then our team does. Then yeah, it's not a good situation because the Giants played, tried to play around with the game, and now they got shot in the face because Brian Flores could have been exactly what they needed. And if Brian Flores was here, I'd say he'd be my second top choice, right behind Harbaugh. So
yeah,
and Harbaugh is definitely, it's a Hail Mary attempt, right? He's going to have a lot of suitors. So
anyways, sorry.
It up, but
back to
anyway.
your
no, it's definitely an interesting conversation. But
yeah,
Mike Kafka, I know. Vance Joseph, no. Antonio Pierce, I'm higher on than most. I actually do like him quite a bit. I thought he really turned around the culture at the Raiders. Obviously doesn't have a ton of experience, and he really should have gotten an opportunity with Las Vegas, in my opinion. Obviously a Giants legend, and I think that does carry a lot of weight. So I do like him, and I'd say like him and Stefanski are kind of my 2A and 2B. And then after that, Lou Anarumo, I know more just because I'm worried about the connection with Shane. Darren Rizzi as well. I'm worried about the connection with Shane. Mike McCarthy, I think, is okay. He'd probably be my 3. So I'd probably go Harbaugh, then Stefanski / Pierce, and then Mike McCarthy. But there's not a ton of great candidates, so I really, really hope it's Harbaugh.
Yeah, not to I'll bring it up. Our favorite artist, Kid Laroi, released an album this morning, and I'm not going to sing it, but he's a song called "Perfect World," and in my eyes, you better swallow that water because that's about to come right back out, Alex.
I got it.
There you go. In a perfect world, we'd have it all figured out. John Harbaugh would be the head coach of the New York Giants. So we'll see if that perfect world becomes reality. For Kid Laroi, he made a breakup album, and the perfect world is talking about his ex-girlfriend. So, I don't know. Hopefully, it's an opposite translation for the New York Giants, and that's what I have to say there. But I already shared my thoughts in the last episode. If you want to check that out, but that's in longer form. In shorter form, pretty much agree with Alex. But it's Harbaugh 1A, Stefanski 1B. I have them in the same tier. I really do like Kevin Stefanski to take a Browns team that in one season had like 5 different quarterbacks and still have a chance of making the playoffs is pretty remarkable stuff. To win 2-time Coach of the Year, again, with the most atrocious franchise probably in all of the NFL, being the Cleveland Browns, somehow worse than the Giants and Jets most years, is pretty cool. And also for your owner or general manager, whoever it was, to give Deshaun Watson that terrible contract and for you to just kind of have to deal with that. I'm sure that wasn't his top choice. It's also pretty, and to still be okay. Not good, obviously, of a team, but it's hard to handle that. And then when you draft Shador Sanders and Dylan Gabriel or whatever it is, he's had it rough. And I think that giving him a fresh start with a guy like Jackson Dart, he'll be like literally giddy, jumping for joy that he doesn't have to worry about a stupid decision like a Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders, Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, down the list, whatever it may be. I'm sure when Baker Mayfield and that ended, he was probably devastated because he knew that Baker Mayfield had what it took, and now he probably sees the same in Jackson Dart, right? So That's my opinion, at least. I'd be very happy with Harbaugh or Stefanski. I wouldn't be like disappointed if Harbaugh goes somewhere else and we get Stefanski. I'd still be, I think, the same amount of joy. And that's what I will say.
Yeah, I'll say this. I don't know the news. I guess the one thing on Twitter, I don't know if you saw last night, the Ole Miss Miami game. Obviously, Jackson Dart mouthed to one of the Ole Miss coaches, asked him who's going to be the next coach. Pretty clearly, he said Stefanski and Harbaugh, just because you can, read lips. And Stefanski is definitely an easy one to pick out. So,
but he said Harbaugh, Stefanski, but I don't know.
But I don't know, and I think the "but I don't know" is probably the correct. But I would assume he like us, I think probably knows that those two are the most qualified candidates.
Yeah, of course. I don't think. Obviously, his decision has nothing to do with it. I'm sure maybe he gets updates from like people inside the building, but Joe Schoen's definitely not calling him up and be like, Jackson, who do you want? It has nothing to do with him. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Alex, like anyone ever, not everyone, but I think
people are overblowing it because everyone in the world is saying those two names. So it's a little bit, it's a little silly, but I wanted to bring it up anyway because it is.
Yeah, no. And that was pretty crazy. The cameras caught it too, right when they showed Jackson Dart and right when Pat McAfee and the guys, because I was watching the ESPN2 broadcast, were like shitting on the Giants, basically, like hopefully they turn around. And then one of them goes, I forget if it was Boston Connor, probably was because Pat's fan moment, but he's like, probably not. It's like, okay, all right, buddy. I mean, it could be right. Who knows? But when the Patriots don't even make the divisional round, then, we could say probably not for their playoff hopes too. Anyway, speaking of playoffs, let's get to our NFL picks for this week, Alex. You went 7-8 last week. I went 9-6, got my 2 wins back. And I'm cruising, I think. I don't know, but that's my thoughts. Alex, there's 6 games. I think it's fair. Let's do 3 and 3. You can start.
Yeah, starting Saturday, I think the worst game of the weekend, Rams-Panthers. I think we're both going with the Rams in this one. Panthers are not a great team. I think this should be a pretty lopsided one. Packers-Bears Saturday night should be a good game. Obviously, a huge rivalry, so that should be fun. We are both going with the Bears on that one. Bills-Jaguars, I think, could be a surprising game for some people. I think the Jags have a better chance than most people are giving them, but I think the quarterback difference, and I think Josh agrees with me here, Josh Allen, I think, just gives them the edge in this one. So we both have the Bills winning.
4:30 on Sunday, the 49ers and Eagles will play each other. I think that's going to be a fun game. It's hosted by Philly. God, it would be so nice if San Francisco goes across the country and beats the heck out of Philadelphia Eagles. So we both have the 49ers winning that game. Also, I'm very nervous that if the Eagles win that game, their momentum, and I do think momentum is certainly real in the NFL. You've seen so many players,
especially in the playoffs.
Past and present players fully say momentum is a huge part of this game, and it is real. It is not fake. Don't think it is. So I'm very worried if the Eagles win this game that momentum, puts them on an upward curve to the Super Bowl. Chargers-Pats is the late window on Sunday, 8 o'clock game. 8:15, I guess, to be specific. Alex, you're going with the Chargers. I am going with the Pats. I do think they win. Unfortunately, I am on the Drake May train. Not that I like him, but I do think he's a good quarterback. And MVP. And then Texans-Steelers is Monday night. We both have the Texans winning that game. For the Steelers to lose how they did, or win, I guess, they should have lost. I mean, to be completely honest, that field goal should have been made. I can't imagine they compete. I can see this honestly being a blowout. Their team is, besides defensively, Aaron Rodgers is he finds open windows. He was making great. I watched that whole game. It was a great game, Steelers-Ravens. He was making pinpoint throws. But in the playoffs, it's not the same Aaron Rodgers anymore. He doesn't have that flair. And I could see the Texans defense being hyped up and whatever. They got their smelling salts before the game. They're ready to sack his ass. And he gets tackled one time and the wind gets knocked out of him. He's like, yeah, I'm too old for this. I can so see that. And so that's what I would say there. But that's what we got for our picks for that week. Alex, anything to wrap up this Giants head coaching stuff from this basically first week of January? It's been a hectic one.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that the coaching search goes well, And I hope the Eagles lose this weekend. That's my kind of main two things. A Pats loss would also be nice. Living in Boston here, it's tough to deal with the wins. So there needs to be some humbling around here. So I think that's where I'm going. So Sunday from about 4:30 to 11 p.m. I'll be keenly rooting for the 49ers and the Chargers. So that's I guess my weekend. Hope everyone enjoys Wild Card Weekend, though. It's always, I think, the best football weekend of the year, in my opinion. So excited for that. Hopefully the Giants can get back to it soon. Probably not, but you never know.
And for anyone who's actually listening and tuning in, whatever it may be, on Friday, get ready for, I would say, the most anticipated game in college football tonight at 7:30.
Right.
Because here's the thing, okay, Miami and Ole Miss, phenomenal game. Phenomenal game. It was. And congrats to Miami for making it. Alex and I both talked about this. With Lane Kiffin leaving, we really wanted Ole Miss to win just to give like an FU to Lane Kiffin. But it is what it is. The offenses, the explosiveness of Indiana and Oregon. Oh, I'm so excited. Also, you're talking about the potential first and second pick in the NFL draft at quarterback playing against each other in this game. It really does not get better than that. You are seeing, the Giants aren't going to pick there. So I know, but if you just want to watch two guys that you are going to watch in the NFL for the future, this is probably going to be pick 1 and 2 in the 2026 NFL draft facing each other tonight. It's going to be fun. And no, I'm not doing an ad or anything for ESPN, although it sounds like it, but I would watch the game if you want some draft prep, because there's a lot of guys on both sides of that field tonight that are going to be drafted in this year's draft, and we'll be tuning in. Anyway, thank you so much for listening or watching this episode of the Giant Take Podcast. We'll be back here next week, depending on when the Giants want us to be back here. We're kind of waiting on them. So when they make their decisions, we'll make our decisions and hop on the mics and talk to you. But for right now, it's been a good solid week. 3 episodes in 1 week of the Giant Take Podcast, Alex. So that was good. Thank you, everyone. Social medias, if you haven't followed yet, you should. The Giant Take Pod, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. If you want direct, live, quick updates on everything, that's on that Twitter. Obviously, we're keeping everyone updated on the coaching search and any other Giants news that's there. Alex is on X at Anorian23. I'm on there at Joshua29. And that's gonna do it. I'll wrap it up. I'll say it. Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Peace.